So we got a major developer update with a lot of juicy information, and in today's video, we're gonna talk about it. Kings and queens, welcome back to the channel. I hope you're all having a fantastic day. We just received a developer update, which is a part 1, which means we're probably going to be getting more tomorrow, which likely is the PTB, as most PTB comes out on Tuesday. And we're going to go through this and read all of the information. This one is pretty jam-packed, so there's a lot to talk about. I don't want to waste any time. Let's jump on into it. Happy 2022. Thank you guys for all the recent support on the previous video. More are coming soon. Let's talk about it. So here we are. We have the developer update. This is for January 2022. As it says in the top, we have part 1. So let's start off. It says future patch optimization plans. It says depending on where you play, it can either take a while to install a patch or patch sizes can be unusually large. Needless to say, this isn't ideal. That's why we're working on improving the update process going forward. So then they go on to explain why it takes so long, and they said what are they going to be doing about it. They said in short term, for Steam only due to technical reasons, we'll be compressing the files more starting this mid-chapter. This will make the patch as much as 50 times faster and decrease the amount of disk space required by about 18 gigabytes. So that is pretty damn huge. And then they said next we'll be restructuring these chunks in the future update. This will affect all platforms and make patch times up to 200% faster. So that's actually pretty cool. We're gonna get some faster patch changes. This is really good. If you're a content creator, if you just want to get into the game and experience things, Steam takes ages to update the game, and especially if you're playing on a PTB, to switch back and forth, it just takes ages. I always wondered why they didn't go along the route of just making it so you can have 2 separate files, one for the PTB, one for the main game, but this honestly seems like a good solution so far, and fingers crossed that it completely works. They said, important note, in both cases, these improvements will require you to comply, re-download the game. This means it will be a very large download when updating or opting in or out of the PTB. Don't worry, this is normal. Afterwards, updates will be much smaller. So in the PTB that we're probably going to be getting soon, we're going to have a big one. So that's pretty interesting. We'll have to wait and see how it all shapes up. Here's some interesting information. Future matchmaking optimization plan. So the community has been voicing that matchmaking is completely terrible. And, you know, in the beginning, I was one of those people. I was like, you know what, maybe it could be a good thing. Clearly, it doesn't work. Their system isn't as complex as it is. And the weird part about it is that if they do try to make it a little bit complex, it'll be more like the emblem system, which they were trying to get rid of. So it's just a big mess right now. Nobody's having fun. You're finding a lot of hackers as well. So hopefully they address these concerns with this. Let's read it. They said, we're a few months into skill-based matchmaking, and we'd like to shed some light on what we've been working on and the improvements we'll be making going forward. Though it may be polarizing, we want to be transparent as possible when it comes to the SBMM, as the discussions that stem from it are incredibly valuable to us as we continue to work on improvements. So let's read. Backfill improvements. If someone leaves a lobby, the matchmaker needs to find a replacement, aka backfill. Right now, it heavily favors a quick replacement over a quality one. This can lead to some matches where one or more players are outside of the normal skill range. We're going to work towards finding a good balance between quality and wait times. So that's pretty interesting. We didn't really know that was how it worked. We always said whoever we're getting matched with are ideally our skill levels, but if someone just backs out the lobby, which a lot of people tend to do, you're just tossing with a random person. That's why you might be finding some really new or bad teammates. They then talk about disconnection handling. Currently, the skill-based matchmaking system doesn't handle disconnects as well as it could. We're looking to make adjustments to handle them better and make sure disconnections are treated fairly when alerting someone's rating, or altering someone's rating, I should say. That's pretty good. So now disconnections will be taken into consideration. If you're someone that DCs a lot, then your skill-based matchmaking will be affected. This is very similar to other games where hackers are queued in with hackers. Maybe disconnectors are now going to be queued in with disconnectors. So it'll be pretty interesting to see how that one's going to be taking form. Extended breaks. When someone takes an extended break from the game, their rating does not change. This isn't ideal since you're bound to be a little rusty after not playing for a while, and returning to difficult matches is a recipe for a frustrating night. We're hoping to introduce a mechanic that adjusts your ratings when you've been gone for a while to ease you back when you return. That's pretty damn awesome. There's been so many times where we've taken breaks from Dead by Daylight. Maybe you're playing a different game, maybe you're just doing stuff in life, and you jump back into a game and you're like, same old DBD, sweaty lobbies, this is just really boring. So this is kind of nice, you know, you're going to ease your way back into it if it works as they say. Then they say general improvements. This one is a little more technical. The game will detect which server you have the best connection to and match you with other players who are close to that server. This works well enough, but if you write between two servers, you'll only be matched with one set of players. For players who have good connections to more than one server, we'd like to open matchmaking, allow them to find matches with either sets of players. This can help balance out queue times at off-peak hours and even improve the quality of matches made. So that is pretty cool stuff. We're going to be seeing some changes to skill-based matchmaking. Not necessarily the exact improvements that the community probably wants. I know a lot of people just want them to remove it. I don't think they'll ever remove it considering on how much they've worked on it and how many trial and error they've just put in just to scrap the whole idea. I always feel like there's going to be a reform around it, and hopefully one day it can get to the players' expectations. Until then, hopefully it can be improved because nobody likes the matches that we're getting. It now talks about future solo survivor experience. So this is pretty interesting. We always talked about survivor balance and how they can adhere to this, making it more fair for the solo survivor compared to the survivors that are Swift players. Killers may not like this because if this does indeed buff up the solo survivor experience in a way that gives them a little bit more benefits, then I can already see people complaining about that. But let's read and let's talk about it. It said, if you're reading this, you've been left on the hook at some point. Okay, maybe not, but chances are very high. Thanks to skill-based matchmaking ratings, we're able to see the impact playing with a pre-made group has on the outcome of matches at various skill levels. The data confirms our suspicions. As skill goes up, so does the gap in survival rates between solo survivors and pre-made groups. In the top end of skill levels, the difference in escape rates can be as much as 15%. Makes a lot of sense. So then they said, we're aiming to strike a balance between making these solo players feel like they've got a part of the team without being overbearing. For example, we want to share key pieces of information like, what are my teammates doing? But not too much information, like showing everyone's exact location. To put it simply, the idea is to bring solo survivors up to the same level, not give people excessive information that makes even pre-made groups stronger. So that's pretty cool. They say we want to share a very early peek at one potential way of closing the gap. Before we do, we want to stress that this is in very early stages. We're curious to hear what you think. So let's see. One feature we are experimenting with is a status icon next to each survivor's portrait in the HUD that lets you know what they're doing. This way, solo survivors can base their decision around what their teammates are doing, and practical groups gets a better idea of their solo teammates' contributions, making everyone feel more of a team. This is something that can already be easily conveyed with a quick call out over voice chat, but is currently not available to solo survivors. Once again, this is a very early preview, so early that we're still discussing it internally. Feel free to share your thoughts, but please keep in mind none of this is final or confirmed. So that is pretty interesting. A long time ago, they spoke about the solo survivor experience and how they could format it where some of the survivors could get hindered at base kit. Obviously, that would be really strong and buff up the Swift groups, as they've mentioned. So this isn't too bad, to be honest. I don't think it makes it to the point where, you know, killers are going to suffer from this, or the solo experience is going to be stronger, or the Swift experience should be stronger even. I think this is pretty alright. It's pretty decent. It's going to give information to everybody, and if you are playing in a 2-man or a 3-man group, and there's one person out, 2 people out, or you're in a solo queue, you will be getting information. So if you're working on a gen and someone's on the hook, you can be like, oh crap, two of my teammates are working on a generator, I should probably go get the save. And if you are in a Survive with Friend group, you already would know these things because, as I mentioned, you just practically call this out. So not too bad, and you know, it's definitely going to be a little bit more interesting on the killer side, but I don't think this is going to cause any harm with just players knowing what's currently going on. There always has been a lot of miscommunications, and that's when some games are skewed where everyone might be a little bit too altruistic and run for the hooks, whatever the case may be. But I don't know if this is going to make it to the point where everyone's just going to be super in sync with everything, you know? So I think this is pretty good. Obviously, we have to test this and see. That's just my opinion. Who knows? This could really just change the whole format of the game, but so far it sounds good on paper. We'll have to play test it to fully see. But let's carry on and see what else that they have. They say the new betas tab. Ooh, is this something that we were just talking about? They said next time you head to your settings menu, you'll have new betas tab. Here you'll find betas for upcoming features that you can opt in or out as you please. Want to share your thoughts on something early on? Awesome, opt in. The icing on the cake, you'll be rewarded with extra blood points for the first bunch of matches you play with the beta activated. Unlike the player test build, these betas are also available on console. Everyone's invited. So the only question is, what's the first beta going to be? How about ... So that is pretty interesting. So the new betas tab is essentially going to be a new game, essentially, with a little bit of minor updates, not as much as the PTB itself, but everyone will be able to opt into a beta and test out some of the new features. I've seen games like Medieval Dynasty do this, even Phasmophobia, where things do carry over and do count. So this is pretty awesome. You know, people are still going to get a taste of some of the new features. They won't get all of them, but you also are rewarded with some new blood points. So that's pretty damn awesome. Why wouldn't you want to play the beta? That's some really good news. And now console players can finally get a taste of everything. Here is the first update that they are mentioning. We have the wiggle update. And they said instead of mashing buttons, you'll see a skill check while being carried. Only this one has 2 zones and doesn't go away when you hit it. Instead, hitting the skill check successfully will cause it to switch directions and gradually fill your wiggle bar. Keep hitting those skill checks to keep wiggling. This interaction keeps wiggling interactive while requiring far fewer inputs and is much easier on your joysticks, making it more accessible to players with repetitive strain injuries. Additionally, each side of the skill check can optionally be bound to different button to further increase the gap between repeated button presses. This update will appear first on the betas tab, allowing you to opt in as you please. So that is pretty damn cool. You'll be able to try out the new wiggle bar that they're introducing. I know there's been a lot of conversations about this update already because some of this information got leaked prior. I don't really have too much of an opinion on it. You know, wiggling whenever I'm, you know, being carried, it is what it is. This is great for people that do have repetitive strain injuries, so that's pretty damn awesome. So it has accessibility to them, and to be honest, it's not that much of a big change. Think about it like when you used to struggle on the hook and now you just have to hit the skill checks. I don't think anybody really minds that. And if you do, let me know in the comments. I would love to hear what you have to say. They then talk about toggle interactions. On the topic of accessibility, another feature that will be debuting with the update is a toggle mode for interactions. This new option, which can be enabled in your settings, makes holding a button for long periods of time a thing of the past. Simply press the same button to start the interaction and press it again to stop. Woo, so that's actually pretty good. To go with it, you'll also find a new option to cancel interactions by sprinting. Enabling this will automatically cancel actions and cause you to start running whenever you sprint. Our goal with these new settings is to make Dead by Daylight more accessible and to provide an alternate for players that don't wish to hold a button the entire length of an interaction. Plus, this frees up your hand so you can take a drink while hitting skill checks. So that is pretty damn awesome. There was a bug that went on in the game for a while where you were working on the generator, you press the escape button, came back in, and boom, you were magically just working on the generator. You didn't have to hold the button down. This is pretty cool. All you have to do now is worry about skill checks, and I personally like it. I think it's pretty good. And it seems that you can opt into this as well. So if you choose that you don't want to do this and you want to hold down the button, you can do that. You know, it works for everybody. So that is pretty damn awesome. The final notes that we have here is, if you made it this far, you've earned yourself a break from reading. Check back tomorrow for part 2. Woohoo! But before you go, we have one last bit of news for today. The player test bill opens Wednesday, January 5th. See you there. So that's interesting. We're getting the PTB on Wednesday. We never got a PTB on Wednesday before. So I'm assuming that's going to be at 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, unless they change the time as well. But we have quite a lot to look forward to in this developer update. And this doesn't even talk about, the game balance changes that we're probably going to be getting. It's been rumored that we're going to get Legion changes and Ghost Fate changes and some Survivor changes. So it'll be interesting to see exactly what it is. But it looks like they're going to just be working on a lot of things in this PTB. And I'm pretty excited to see what part 2 has in store for us as well. This could potentially be back-to-back wonderful mid-chapter patches. So we'll have to wait and see. But let me know what you guys think about all of this in the comments down below. It's definitely been an interesting read, and I hope you guys did enjoy. If you did, leave a like down below and subscribe for some more daily Dead by Daylight content. We're going to be posting a lot of videos, and again, thank you guys so much for all of the love and the support on the previous videos. We're going to be definitely making more of those and more interesting videos that you guys are going to enjoy. But that's going to do it for me. As always, I'm the King. I tip my crown to you guys, and we'll see you in the fog.